Hello everybody. Today we'll discuss how we can set up coverage rates and times in Cabtree so that jobs can be assigned to cab offices according to their settings. So first we need to understand a very major concept that any uh, probability for a cab office to get a job is totally dependent on two key factors. One is the price of the job, which will be quoted against your cab office when somebody will try to book a job on Cabtree, either on the website or through our call center. And the second factor is the pickup time, that how soonest you can provide the cab which somebody is looking for. So the adjustment of time and the price is very key to all this processing. So you need to keep updated all the rates all the times. Whenever you want to change the rates, it should be updated in the system, and especially the waiting time which varies throughout the day for any cab office, so that should also be updated as per your current situation. So any wrong configuration or any wrong setup during this it can cause a wrong assignment of the jobs to you, and that will cause the more issues on your side as well, plus on the Captree side as well. So it is very important that you keep these things updated, because if a job is assigned to you, number one, and you will not only lose your commission with the Captree for that job, but it will also create a bad rating for you whenever we'll be rating you while people will be trying to select a particular cab office for a particular job. The price and the time are very key factors in this, and this will also determine where exactly in the list you are according to the price, if the user is sorting it by the price, and especially if user is or passenger is in hurry, they will also sometime go with the higher price, but they will be looking for the person or the cab office who can assist them quickly. So if your settings are not correct, then you will have severe issues. So let's see how we can set up coverage of your area for in Captree along with rates and your waiting time settings. First, you need to get into the cabtree.com. Once you are there, you will click on For Cab Offices button on the top right menu area. Once you will click there, you will be presented with the login and password screen, which this login and password is for the cab offices only. This is not the passenger login and password. Passenger login and password is normally on the home page on the rightmost corner of the screen. So you must have your login and password. If you don't have any, it means you are not registered yet, and you need to talk with the customer services department. They will ask you to fill a registration form, plus they will ask you to fill us to sign a one page single form with all your details, and once your license and everything is approved, they will approve your login, and after that you can log in. Let me log in with the test cab office so that I can present you how the things can work. So I am going to log in with the test cab office, and let's see how we can set up the other area. Once you will log in into the system, you will be directly uh, presented the job screens. But today our topic is not to handle how we can manage our jobs, but rather how we can set up our area and the times. You will go into the admin menu, and once you will go into the admin menu, you will click on the coverage area menu. This screens actually tells how you can set up certain postcode districts which you will be covering. I take an example that let's say this cab office will be covering um, four, or let's say four cab of postcode districts. So let's add some new postcode districts for this cab office. You will click, just ignore the one which is already added, because I want to add the new one so you can see how they can be set up. You click on add more postcode districts. Once you will click, you will see a long list of uh, postcodes, and you can uh, scroll through them. So let's see, this cab office, particular cab office only cover IG1, IG2, E6 and E7. So we need to add all these four postcode districts, which is this cab office is covering for Cabtree. Yeah. So let's go to I. So here it is IG1, IG2. Let me add it, and you will see IG1 and IG2, these two records has been added into your coverage area screen. Let's see, I want, okay, so once I will add it, by default, it will be the fixed rate option. What does fixed mean? If it is specified as fixed, mean you don't need to specify any rates for this postcode, but it will rather follow Cabtree standard rates. What are Cabtree standard rates? If I go to cabtree.com, if you click on the fares menu, you will see these are the standard rates which Cabtree is providing to the customers for the saloon, for the state, and for the MPV. And if you see, for outer London, for inner London, and for the central city, the for first 2 mile a different rate, and then there is a per mile. Same with the state, and the same with the MPV. If you think your rates are quite near to these rates, it's preferred to use these rates rather than your own rates, because it will give more better feel to the customer that they are going to book a cab with somebody who's following a standard rate. If you think your rates are not very close to these rates, then you can provide your own rates. So if you have provided fixed rates, you don't need to mention anything. But if, let's say, for IG2 you want to provide comparative rates, where you want to give your own rates. So once you will click comparative, for you, then you can modify the rates as per your requirement. Let's say for first 2 miles, you don't want to charge £5, you want to charge either £4 or either £6. Let's say it's a £6. And per mile, you won't be charging 1.9, perhaps you will be charging, let's say, 2.5. And the same with the state, you can change the rates for the state, and then you can change for the rate for the MPV. I will talk about the adjustment later in the presentation, how the adjustment will work. But in adjustment, uh, if you this is a temporary arrangement where you can specify any instant discount or any instant escalation in the rates. Let's say if you think you are coming quite down in the list, and you're getting no job in your area, and some other cab offices are getting the job from the Cabtree, perhaps, and you are free, your all drivers are free, perhaps you want to apply a instant discount of 10%, minus 10%, minus 15%. So whatsoever your rates will be calculated after these for per mile and for 2 mile rates, it will further apply that discount. Or if sometime you think you are getting more busier, and the rates of your competitors are also high, and you want to increase your rates for certain time, so rather than changing the rates for um, every type of the car, like saloon, estate, or MPV, you temporarily change it by plus 10%, right? So normally you won't do any adjustment, and you will keep it as 0, right? You will also specify your peak hours, and these peak hours will will be treated when you have specified that these hours are peak. So your peak hours could be different than your normal peak hour rates could be normal than your normal rates. And let's say for saloon, in peak hours you might be charging £7, and for saloon in the peak hour you might not be charging 2.5, you might be charging 2.7. So then you can specify your peak hour rates as well, right? It is quite possible for one postcode you are covering, your rates are your own choice, and for another postcode which is a bit far, or is not a very commercial, or the cab is not prices are different from that, and you can follow the fixed prices there. So I will try to save these rates for now, and if you click save, it will save your all the changes in the system. Yeah. uh, the second thing which I want to specify here, that same with IG1 and the IG2, these are the rates per mile rates for going to any destination. You can specify some special rate for special destination, like most of the cab office or some of the cab office have a special rates for the airports. So if your journey, any passenger who is going to airport from IG1 will be calculated based on these formulas, will might be comparatively higher than your competitors. So you can provide a fixed price for airports or some other thing. Let's say for this test cab office, which is I'm using in training, I want to specify a special rate for, let's say, London City Airport. So I'll click under special rate the manage button. Once I will click, I will specify click the add button to add a special rate, and then in the name of the place I will select, let's say, London City Airport, and I'll say okay, from IG2 to London City Airport is £18. For a state, it is, let's say, £20. For MPV, it is, let's say, £25. So if the job is for London City Airport from IG1, these specific rates will be quoted rather than the per mile calculation, so that you can compete with your competitor for the special journeys. If I will click save, it will be saved in the system. I can add more destination, like any other airport which I would like to add. For example, um, London Heathrow Terminal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Gatwick, Stansted, any airport which I will like, right? Specifying the rates for the special destination, you need to do this for every postcode which you cover. Let's say for from IG1 to London City Airport, you will have to specify a special rate for IG1, and the same with the IG2. Sorry, for IG1, IG2 you have specified, and for IG1 you also need to specify, because you see there is no airport rate. So for every postcode, let's say you cover four postcode, so you need to because your rates can vary. From IG1 you might be charging £40 to Heathrow, but from IG2 you might be charging £45 to Heathrow. So your rates can vary, and you can add for other postcodes. So for IG1 you have specified Heathrow Airport, and your rate is perhaps 20, rather than 18, it is 15. And for a state you say okay, it's 16. For MPV you say it's 22. So your rates can vary. If you think your rates are almost equal from for IG1, for IG2, for IG3, any postcode which you cover, you can use our copy button, which will copy the postcode from the special rates from other postcode of yours to this postcode, and you will not have to retype all the special places rates for every postcode again and again. So this is very important, that you need to specify the rates for the special places for every postcode which you cover, whether it's on the fixed rates or whether it's on the comparative rates of your own choice. Comparative mean the rates are of your own choice, and the fixed mean it is following Cabtree standard rates, so you don't need to mention it. We will take care of it. You need to be very careful while selecting the fixed rate option, because it will follow our standard rates, and if they don't suit you in peak and off peak time, you shouldn't select it, because once job will be assigned to you, it will not only be charged to you for the commission, but it will also decrease your rating if you are not able to serve that job in the committed timeline. So this is very important, that you manage your rates properly. So here I have specified the rates. Now let's go to another screen, which is called under the admin menu, which is let me save it. You need to save every time you make a change in the system, so that it's updated with the server, and the new prices are being used whenever a quote is being quoted on your behalf to the passenger. It is very important, because if you have not saved it, it still will be multiplying with the old rates and the old settings. Let's go to admin menu again, and let's go to a screen called waiting time. Because as I discussed earlier, there are two key factors, your rates and the time, which will increase or decrease the probability for you to get a job, right? So the waiting times are specified by default, and these are covering from Monday to Sunday, from 12 a.m. to the whole 24 hours. You can scroll down till 11:59. So this actually let you to specify the waiting times for the whole week. Let's say you are quite busy on the Friday somewhere, for example, Friday somewhere in uh, 9, 19 means around 7 o'clock. So your waiting time might not be 15 minutes, it might be 25 minutes. So you will change your waiting time for Friday at, at that time to 25. Don't tick this checkbox until you want it to be a peak time. Peak time doesn't mean that time increases. Peak time means it will apply the peak time rates for the quotation. So if you tick this checkbox, it will be uh, encircled or bordered with the red border. It means that the peak time rates will apply if somebody will try to get a quote in this time, and you will be quoted in that area. So if you uncheck this, you will still be 25 minutes, and save it, and this is not a peak time. Okay, so if you think it's, for example, I have saved these 1, 2, 3 on the Friday from the 7 o'clock to the 11 o'clock as the peak time, just for the example. So these the time, if your waiting time increases, you still need to change the waiting time to, let's say, 25 minute or the 30 minute, right? But it doesn't mean that the waiting time will increase. So waiting time will be quoted to the customer as per the setting which you have provided. This tick box, which is peak time, will is related whether it will be this hours is your peak time or not. If it is a peak time, the peak time rates will be used to calculate your quote, and if it is untick, then off peak time rates will be used. Let's take an example here, that if the this particular hour, let's say 1 o'clock, is ticked, and once it's ticked, it's bordered with the red circle, then it will use peak hours timing rate specified here. If that R is not ticked, then it will use off-peak R specified, off-peak rate specified. So the peak or off-peak is related with which rates should be used for different postcode while making a quote. Whereas whether it's a peak time or off-peak time, you need to specify what time you're going to take to serve that job. If you think you can't perform any job during that particular hour, or during, and you are fully loaded, and you can't perform job in any of the postcode which you are covering, you should freeze that hour. There is option to FRZ, which mean freeze, and that hours will become black, mean it will be freezed. And once that hour will be freezed, mean you will be not be quoted to any passenger if they even if they try to get a quote from your area, mean you are not ready to get any more job in this particular hour. As long as this hour will finish, you will start getting the jobs again. So if you think you are not able to get the jobs for next 2 hours, you should make those 2 hours freeze. It is very important, once that time has passed, you need to specify the normal time again. Let's say your normal time for this hour was 20 minutes, so you need to specify that again, because if it will still remain freeze again for the next Friday at 12 o'clock, it will not give you any job. So it is very important that while you are freezing, you need to defreeze it as soon as possible, so that because it's a weekly schedule, so it will be in a rotating basis, and next Friday the same setting will be used. If you increases your waiting time for a particular hour from, let's say, from 15 minute to 40 minute, and you think that's the waiting time required to serve any job at that point in time, you need to think it is always every 1 o'clock on every Friday is your waiting time 40 minutes. If it is not, once that time has passed, you should change that back to your normal waiting time, which is, let's say, 20 minutes. So the waiting time is very important in serving the job and maintaining your credibility to the customer, that you are always on time, whatsoever the time you have committed. So it's better to commit a right time rather than saying, okay, we'll serve in 50 minutes and then serving in 30 minutes. Obviously, we'll decrease your rating according to your uh, facility to the customer, right? So now let's get back to let's get back to our coverage screen again, and I let you know some more things there. So whether it's a peak time or off peak time, those particular rates will be applied. If there are special rates for certain special places, you will specify those under the manage button, as you specified London City Airport. And if you are also covering these special rates are if somebody is going from IG2 to the airport. If you also cover the airport jobs, mean if also you also pick the passenger from the airport, you need to add that airport as your coverage in the list. For example, if you also receive the jobs from London City Airport, so then you need to specify London City Airport and need to add it here, and then you need to specify the rates for the London City Airport here on this grid. There is another factor which you need to note down, that you can also freeze a particular hour on the waiting time screen, and you will not get job from any any area in that particular hour, or you can freeze a particular postcode district. Let's say if you want to receive some jobs from IG2, but you don't want to receive the jobs from IG1, you can freeze the particular postcode district. So you will still be receiving jobs from IG2, but you will not be receiving the jobs from IG1. So this is very important. Either you can freeze the whole hour, it means you will not get the job in that particular hour on the waiting time screen from any of the district. Or if you think you are quite busy in one area of your coverage and you are not busy in another sector of the coverage, then you should freeze those postcode only. It is very important you unfreeze them whenever whenever as soon as possible, because if they are remained freeze, you will never going to get any more job from that district if they are still freeze. So it is very important you keep these settings up to date all the time whenever required, because once you have received a job, it's very hard to handle that after that, and it also impact your rating a lot. If you have any further question, please contact us at our customer services number, which is specified on our website, which is 0203 0007676, and please set up accordingly. Thank you for watching this video.